Hello again, and ushering in a new era of best practice. Speakers in this session will present their perspectives, case studies that demonstrate best practices being adopted in the industry. I would now like to call upon Mr. Chakravarti, Global Ambassador of World Packaging Organization and CEO and MD of EcoBliss India, who also chaired the Advanced Technology session, to moderate this session. Over to Mr. Chakravarti.
Thank you very much, Saliha. It's a wonderful day. Since the beginning, we had great presentations from companies like Taglif, SIG, Boros, and now we are into the session ushering in a new era of best practice and perspectives and a few case studies. We have two great people, my friends, very younger to me, both of them, but we start with the younger one, always, Shashvat Gangwa. Shashvat is currently the youngest senior investment manager and at an impact-focused fund, Sagana, and Infinity Box is a pet program where he looks food tech alternatives to plastics, climate-related solutions. Worked for McKinsey as a consultant too. And he's graduated from the prestigious IIT Kharagpur, which is close to my heart, and top of his class in 2009. At McKinsey, he worked across sectors, deliver 200 crores, that is 2,000 billion Indian rupees in indirect cost saving in the pharma industry to one of the largest pharma companies in India. I would like to know more about this, Shashvat. I'm very much interested to this. Suggested strategies to reduce TAT of vendor financing for MSMEs loans from 15 days to 1 hour. Oh my God. I think many people need to connect with you, my dear, and surveyed farmers across 8 provinces understand the impact of COVID, presented that to the top of CXOs in the country. This is a noble work, I must say, I must say that. We also helped one of the largest NGOs in the world to raise funds amounting to $10 million US. He's always keen on learning about new sectors and assessing the viability of the businesses and products. He's interned with Nomura Holdings, where he developed strategies for investors in multiple countries. It goes on. In fact, he's a passionate social entrepreneur too. He has founded the startup in the food delivery industry, which we are talking about today, that is Infinity Box, which has now partnered with Swiggy too, the largest conglomerate. You must have heard the Zomato of India, the Swiggy, to do away with the single-use plastic containers and replace them with the reusable food-grade containers. To date, Infinity Box has conducted 3 pilots across 3 cities with a 70% adoption, the 85% collection rate, while reducing the 40 kilo single-use plastics. Is also the host of India's first podcast with insight into circular economy across industries. Well, working with UNDP in Jordan, having represented India at Unleash Singapore, and being a member of the Health Prize community, are some of his feathers in his cap. And definitely, at such young age, you peak the pinnacles in many aspects. We all are keen to listen to you, my dear young wonder, Shashvat Gangwa. Over to you.
Thank you for the kind introductions, Naveen. Hi, everyone. So it's a pleasure to meet you all. When I was invited to the conference, I was asked to present something of a problem that I faced in my personal life, and how can that become a learning opportunity or sort of a case study. So what I've done is focused all of my presentation, which I'm just about to showcase, on my startup, which is Infinity Box, which is aimed at replacing single-use plastic containers in the food delivery industry with reusable and completely recyclable containers. So whenever you guys can see my screen, please let me know. Yeah, perfect. So Infinity Box is basically a sustainable packaging solution for quick commerce. But before that, let's take a step back to understand why did I even think about sustainability, and how is the sustainable packaging landscape changing. Then we will focus a bit around the changing food ecosystem across the globe, and especially so in India, where I'm based in. Then why did I focus on reuse when there are so many other biodegradable solutions out there? And then the last one, which is what do we actually do at Infinity Box? So today, I think we are in a unique position where there's a confluence of three different trends. The first one being changing consumer sentiment, where various surveys and reports reveal that millennials prioritize making a difference over just buying products. 71% of them want corporations to take a social and environmental lens. Regulators realize that, and that is why there's a regulatory pressure has been increasing, with more than 127 countries banning or limiting use of single-use plastic packaging like plastic bags, especially so in India, where there have been multiple plastic bans that have been imposed and fines that have been imposed on people across the supply chain. And lastly, corporates who are reacting to the changing consumer and regulatory sentiment and setting aspirational goals to become, let's say, plastic neutral or more sustainable by 2025, 2030, 2050, so on and so forth. It is a confluence of these trends which, in my belief, are shaping the packaging industry. And the reason that these have come about, or the millennials are, they are caring about it, is because the problem is so huge. If you just look at the food delivery market, about 50 million kgs of single-use plastic in India is like burnt or landfilled every single month. And this is expected to grow by 5 times in the next 4 years. So the problem is huge. And there aren't really a lot of solutions that, cater to it. If you go to a restaurant and ask them, what are the 3 parameters that you care about while delivering food? It's the 3 on the right side. Pricing, does it leak or is there any spillage in food delivery? And the last being, how's the customer experience like? So the current alternatives that exist to single-use plastic packaging, which is dominating across the globe, is sugarcane or corn baguettes, cardboards, areca palm leaves, etc., which are sold to customers as being more environment friendly because at their end of life, they don't leave behind microplastics. Now, the problem is that it is not true, because in India, where 75% of the containers are, 75% of the orders are essentially hot curries, any of these bagasse items or cardboard items need a plastic lining. Otherwise, they absorb food, or at least leaches microplastics into the food.
Absolutely.
So in all the alternatives, it's a big problem, because not only are you getting a bad customer experience because the containers are not that good looking and wobbly and whatnot, there is leakage because they're not as sturdy. And lastly, they're not even as environment friendly, because you either think that they're compostable, which is industry compostable and not home compostable, which means you dump them in your backyard and they leave behind microplastics anyhow, or you let them go to a recycler who is screwed because he's having to deal with recycling, he's having to deal with the non-recyclable material in an already unorganized sector where the waste streams are not as pure. So the recyclers' waste streams are also getting polluted further. So when you move on to these bagasse and palm leaves and you eat something with a plastic lining which is not visible to the naked eye, you're not only hurting the environment, you're also hurting people across the supply chain. Lastly, the killer, which is why this hasn't taken up, is because the prices are just super high. The price of a bagasse or a palm leaf versus a single-use plastic is obviously a lot higher today, which is why people don't want to go for it. So when I was faced with this problem that, okay, I eat curries, but there are no good solutions out there which are environment friendly or work for every stakeholder, what do I do? So we started researching, and what we realized was that there are taking shape globally. And in North America, Europe, where there's a very strong takeout coffee culture, reusable cups are gaining traction. But what I realized was there was nothing catering to India's growing and burgeoning food delivery demand. And that is when we came up with the idea of reusing containers. Can you use a container 100, 200 times to prevent it from being landfilled or being burned? Fairly simple. Does it meet all the criteria that we just discussed? Yeah, I mean, if you use plastic, high grade plastic, then it is food grade if you get the certifications. It is quite sturdy. I mean, we use Tupperware at our houses anyway for decades. It is environment friendly if you're able to reuse it. And if you can figure out a business model at which the pricing is the same, then you're sort of meeting all the criteria that restaurants and customers care for. And that is exactly what we aim to do. With the lowest environment footprint of reuse, this graph is from this year's Eat Without Waste by ADM, tells you that if you are able to use a container even 40 times in a closed ecosystem, the GHG emissions are 10 times lesser. So we realized that if we are able to deliver on a reuse model which is cost efficient, it will have lower environmental footprint and it will satisfy the restaurants and the customers' needs. So that is what we do at Infinity Box. We're essentially a packaging as a service solution. We provide reusable packaging, we provide waste to collect it back from the customer, and we provide the technology backend infrastructure, which allows us to track and trace every single container, ensuring that they're brought into the loop again and again. We have been live in India for like a year. We have piloted across cities. We've onboarded several different large chains in the country, and we've only received good feedback. Not only from the restaurants, but also from the customers, where we've gotten a lot of love on social media, because they realize that, of course, the problem is bad, but I also don't want my food in a container which doesn't look good, is not microwavable. And here you are giving me a Tupperware, which, I mean, I'm used to using for decades. And I like putting it in the microwave as soon as it comes. There is no tape required, and it's just easy to use, which has led us, our customer adoption and retention rates to be extremely high. So we are on a mission to basically reduce over 250 million kgs of single-use plastic in the next 5 years, reduce over 500 million tons of GHG emissions, reach over 100 million people, which in India is like 7 cities, and create about 7,000 jobs in the next 5 years. That is what we are aiming to do. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have about the food delivery ecosystem, reuse, and any other questions about Infinity Box.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Shashvat. Well, as you really see that tabular form, the replacements for the plastic boxes, PET boxes or whatsoever, by alcohol or Begas or any other particle board made of sustainable and compostable, what they say, are not really an answer to replace that, as you are very well aware, because they are not passing on the barrier properties requirement, and they are not passing on the carrying the beverages, leak proofness, so much and so forth. And also recycling them is not so easy as people think, that they're not all that compostable things which we call for end up in landfills, and they take several years also to become decomposition. Well, I would like to ask you how the whole project works. What is the cost involvement in the initial time, and how much it impacts the customers also, or it doesn't impact the customer at all?
There is no extra cost involved.
End customers.
I'm saying there is no extra cost involved.
Are you sure that the companies like Swiggy don't add on to their pricing?
I am sure, because I work with them, and that's our revenue.
You are told
there is no extra cost involved.
So you believe that?
I'm sorry. I mean, the model is built in such a way that there is no extra cost involved, because premium pricing is not something that works in India beyond a certain scale.
Okay. But how does it whole thing, recycling and also the supplying these recyclable boxes in big numbers? How does it practically is working?
Recycling is an interesting question, because I'm sorry, there's some echo. So recycling is an interesting point, because 2 months ago, the Indian government approved recycling food grade containers back into food grade applications. Prior to that, they were usually recycled down into chairs or tables or whatever, which meant that the premium wasn't that much, which meant that they were not really collected back, because it's a lightweighted container, and the collection industry works on $ per kg collected. There are multiple companies in India who do that. There are companies that I know of have the machines that are needed to recycle them back into food grade applications, and we have very good connections with them. And they also have these certifications like an EFSA and the others, which is good. So
are you sure? Are you sure? I'm sorry, I'm sure. Are you sure in the future all this collection back into the mainstream and then putting them back into the recycling, etc. The whole chain will last long, so that the entire the chain gets benefited.
Well, I mean, today the biggest problem is collection. Actually, collection of pure waste, or you know, like not like collection and segregation together are the biggest problems. I only deal in containers. I only deal in food contact applications. So I'll become the collection point because that's what my model is. And then giving it to a recycler who can recycle it back into food grade applications just give me additional revenue. So I obviously do think that that is a very good way to go, because not only am I generating more revenue and jobs for them, I'm also doing the same for me. So it's a win-win situation.
Wonderful. In fact, in the future, I think if these points are addressed, it's not just on the revenue front as well, considering the environment, the better environment as well. Definitely, it is going to save the planet, and it is going to fetch few more thousands of kilos or maybe millions of tons if it goes big. If it goes big.
To give you an idea, in India, about 4 million orders are served on a daily basis between the two largest platforms. Each order would have about 2 containers. That's about 8 million containers a day. Each container is about 50 to 70 grams.
Right now, this is on a pilot mode. How it is happening?
We are live and scaling up in Bangalore. We are already the largest reusable company in the food and beverage space in India.
Harsha in person liked it.
I can only hope so.
The guy from Vijayawada.
Yeah, the idea is to get to about 5,000 orders a day in the next 3 months, and then about ambitious goals for 25,000 orders a day by the end of the year.
Yeah,
at 5,000, we are the largest reusable company in the food and beverage space in the world. So that's where we are at.
This is a new beginning, young man. I'm very happy to interact with you and to know about this initiative, which helps the environment eventually. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, but also for that great interaction. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
So with that, we go to the another important speaker, my dear friend, Teresia Golnar. From Alpla. Alpla doesn't need an introduction, and Alpla is a company worldwide known for values. In fact, we have friends headquartered in Austria, Vienna, and they have more than 22,000 employees and locations. Can you believe how many? I leave it to your guess. 177 locations worldwide, with presence in 45 countries and spread over 4 continents. I'm personally very, very fortunate to know their chairman and their directors, the good friends of mine. And Alpla produce innovative packaging systems, bottles, caps, injection molded parts for a wide range of industries. The long history at Alpla as a family-run business, the cutting-edge technologies and knowledge and dedication of our employees. Alpla always put employees first. I always listen from their directors. They give topmost importance to their employees, who set us and the products apart. Our business activities are founded on sustainability and the climate-friendly use of resources. With our more than 25 years of experience in recycling, that's precisely what we're talking about, and our own recycling plants. Alpla, interestingly, have their own recycling plant. They collect back and recycling and put to the mainstream. That's a big thing in plastic companies. We play our part in ensuring that plastics remain in the material cycle. So in that way, Alpla does a great job. I have no doubts in endorsing their policies, their strategies to keep up the customer first and also environment first at the same time. Now I come to our dear friend, Teresia Golnar. She's a passionate advocate for sustainable behavior to protect the environment and to increase activities in relation to circular economy. and her focus at Alpla is always to make a difference in regards to sustainable packaging and to contribute to a greener environment by providing environmental friendly and sustainable packaging solutions. Our aim is to promote recycling materials, recyclable materials, and to change people's perception about, I like this, Teresia, about plastic, as long as we use it in a responsible way. I keep on talking and I don't fail in communicating and bringing up that awareness worldwide in so many platforms. If we avoid plastic, if we ban plastic in our daily life, I always ask my audience a question. Imagine a life without plastics. There is no life. People think we can live without plastics, but okay, the allied problems are many, but the problems need to be looked at into a different way, addressed in a different way. But a straight ban on the plastics is not going to solve your purpose. Anyhow, that's a different topic altogether. We are going to discuss it in the next, the physical conferences, which Salih has promised in the coming year at UAE. And now I go to Teresia for your wonderful presentation. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chakravarti. It's my honor to be here today, and I hope you can see my screen. And I am going to be representing Alpla Plastic Middle East Industry. I'm the operations manager and sustainability manager of our plant in Dubai. And it's my absolute pleasure to be here presenting. First, I would like to show you one statement that I'm very fond of. What you do makes a difference, and you have to decide what kind of difference you want to make. The scuba diver in the picture is myself. So as you can see, I am very passionate about a clean environment. I'm passionate about the ocean, our environment. And I can see firsthand going on my scuba dives what a difference the people's behavior and responsible behavior can make. I think you already summarized very well our company profile. So Alpla is a family business that basically started in the laundry room of our founders, Helmut and Alvin Lehner. They were starting to build their own machines, and it's now, or today, is the biggest family-run company producing packaging solutions. You can see the founder here in about 60, 70 years ago. We are producing packaging systems, so not only the bottle, but the whole system that the customer potentially requires, with the bottles, closures, and injection molded parts. The rest you already summarized. I'm not going into depth of that. Here you can see the wide range of our product portfolio. A big part, of course, is beverages, food, milk and dairy, beauty, pharma, crop protection, oils, lubricants, home care. So we are basically present all around the globe in all the different fields related to plastic packaging. Now, what I would like to go into in the first two slides is two of the biggest myths about plastic. And this is coming now into correlation with the statement that you said earlier. I want to change people's perception, because yes, plastic can be bad, but it can also be one of our most precious and most valuable resources if we use it in a sustainable way. So what many people think is that the majority of packaging waste is plastic, which is actually not true. The majority is paper and cardboard. So 40% is paper, only 19% is made of or is derived from plastic. The next myth, or the second myth, or one of the biggest ones, is that plastic packaging will lead to microplastic. I think we all know what microplastic is. Basically, what we are talking about is any plastic particle in the ocean that is a maximum of 5 millimeters, and it's visible partially or is mostly visible to the naked eye. If you can imagine, around 12 million tons of plastic is ending up in our oceans every year, which you could compare to around 1 truck every single minute of the day. So it's a huge quantity, but most of this is made up from synthetic textiles or clothes, tires and city dust. And if you see, the plastic pellets and personal care products is only 2.3%. So the distribution here is remarkable. What I would like to focus on now is the activity of ALPLA. We are very much focusing in our sustainable packaging strategy on the 4 R's, and we want to reduce, reuse, recycle, and replace fossil-based plastics. So I'm going to go step by step into detail of each of the pillars, showing some of our major inventions and innovations that we are developing to make sure that we are producing towards a sustainable environment. Starting with the first R is to reduce, which is of course one of the biggest parts, that we reduce newly gained material, or that we are actually reducing our consumption of virgin material. We also want to reduce our carbon emission by, for example, going in-house. In-house means we are right at the customer itself. This is also why we are represented in 180 locations all around the globe. We want to lightweight bottles, so we are providing same style bottles as you can find in the market, but with less weight, so less material consumption. We also want to increase life cycles of the products and therefore reducing the carbon emission, as well as I'm going to introduce you one of the innovations, which is called the Simple One, which is one of our special lightweight bottles. So in-house means we are right at the customer, and 68 of our in-house or of our plants are in-house. This is around 1/3 of all our plants that are directly at the customer side. So usually we are connected with a conveyor belt or door to door to our customer, which of course reduces the transportation a lot. And in 2020, ALPLA saved 42,500 tons of CO2. This is a remarkable amount, and it's equivalent to around over 2 million trees planted, or equivalent to around 10,000 passenger vehicles that are driving around every year. So this is a big part for our contribution to reduce the CO2 emission. The second part is lightweighting, as I mentioned before. So if you look at this bottle here, in 2000, a 1.5 liter bottle of water was 40 grams heavy. And now in 2020, this same bottle is reduced to 25 grams. So of course, this is almost 40% material reduction, which again saves material. It has the same stability. So you can see the grooves on the side, which will give the bottle stability. So it's a design change. It's a technology improvement that will give eventually the same performance to our customers.
Accelerate a little bit.
Sorry?
Accelerate a little bit. You have 3 more minutes.
Okay, all right. So life cycle, I'm just going to show, if you look at the glass bottles, the main topic or point I want to show here is that glass has a lot higher carbon emission compared to 100% recycling PET bottle, for example, or PET in general. Aluminium is slightly higher, but glass is not, as many people think, a lot higher in carbon emission. The Simple One is basically a refill bottle that reduces by 80% to the lightweight, and we are reducing greenhouse gases by 55%. Now to go into reducing or reusing, I'm sorry. In Europe, a lot of countries have the deposit system, where you buy a bottle that you pay a deposit for, and when you return the bottle, you will get your deposit back. So some of these bottles can do up to 25 cycles, And most of these bottles nowadays are produced with recycled PET material. Yeah, this is one of our innovations. To go into the recycling, what you said earlier, we are recycling worldwide around 277,000 tons of plastic material around the globe, with our leading recycling plant for sure in Mexico with 81,000 tons, followed by Thailand and Germany. Our commitment, until 2025 is to use 25% of all the materials in our portfolio with PCR or post-consumer recyclable, and all our packaging has to be fully recyclable by then. We have a few recycling practices where really we are also supporting the waste collection eventually and the recycling in an in-house plant in Slovenia. So this is where we close the circle, and we are reducing the CO2 emission by 92%. One innovation for Sprite, as an example with us, was the design for recycling. PET, as many of you will know, is not recyclable if it has any colorant. So Sprite, in collaboration with us, has changed the design to make the bottle fully recyclable with transparent PET. Also, of course, it's important that all the components, such as label closures, etc., are recyclable. The last one is our paper bottle. That at the moment still has a part of PET layer inside as well as the neck, but the target, of course, is to strengthen the bottle that much that it can purely be based on paper. And for every single tree that we cut to produce this bottle, 3 new trees are being planted to also make it sustainable, because this is probably a question that many of you will have. The last point is the bioplastic, or what Shashvat has mentioned also before, is we want to produce biodegradable or materials using biodegradable, for example, coffee capsules. So these coffee capsules, if you look at Nespresso, if you throw them in the bin, they will not decompose. And we have developed a coffee capsule that is 100% compostable. So it goes behind the house in the compost, and it will disintegrate. We also have a partnership with Panara, with a Slovakian startup, to conduct research on fully bio-based plastics. And to conclude, use plastic responsibly, because it is precious. Thank you very much.
Wonderful, Teresia. I could not have asked for more. For the very statement, plastic is precious. Use it responsibly. That's the message you gave, which we have been talking about it for a number of years. In fact, Alpla's initiatives on reduce, recycling, and reuse, and all the 3 spheres, you have great initiatives. Eventually working for the better consumer experience, a better environment. In fact, the initiative of Pavaco, the paper bottle, definitely as a game changer. Do we seriously look forward to avoid total plastic in the paper bottle? I do not know. Are we working against the nature? I do not know. To get the necessary barrier properties in a paper bottle, which will be suitable for beverage packaging. A great presentation, my dear friends. We have Keetana was saying recycled PET polymer feedstock constraints. What are all the constraints you are using, you are encountering while recycling your PET polymer? Reclamation supply is quite tough nowadays. That is a question from people also, because Alpla is known for its own recycling. What kind of problems you are encountering? Teresia, can you address that?
To use recycled material in our production, for sure, one of the issues is that we get good quality recycling, clean materials, that are not damaging the filters of the machines, then of course it will emit odor or smell. So especially for food production, it has to be used in a proper way. We have a lot of plants actually already in Europe that are 100% on recycling materials. So here the innovation today is so advanced that with a slightly advanced ventilation system, there will not be a huge impact on the production. Of course, recycling materials, the more it goes back into the cycle, it will lose quality as such. So of course, our production process needs to be optimized to a very high level to ensure stability in the process. So this for sure is a few of the biggest challenges, but the technology is improving a lot every single year. Here, yeah, this is the way to go.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Shashvat. The young technocrats, I can say, both of you, we had a wonderful evening, wonderful presentations from both of you, which is really helpful and enrichful, and a lot of knowledge sharing happened from both of your presentations. A big thanks from myself and also from Media Fusion, Waste Recycling Middle East, Africa, Saliha, and all of us, Kirtana, everybody. Thank you very much. With that, we conclude the session.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.